This is the second of 8 short video revision sessions for the theory paper, which will help you with your mock on the afternoon of Friday the 2nd of February 2018 and your real exam on the morning of Monday the 18th of June 2018. This video is the second video about business administration, and it covers administration in business, business functions, roles in a business, routine and non-routine tasks, planning and prioritising, and finally open plan and cellular officers. So first of all, administration in a business. Businesses must have quick access to accurate information, and this is why good administration is so important. Businesses rely on good administration. And there's 4 parts to administration. The first part is storing information, either electronically or through paper-based means. The second part of administration is processing that information. For example, processing sales figures. The third part of administration is retrieving that information. That will be information that may need to be used again later. And the fourth part of administration is disseminating information, sharing that information with other stakeholders through things like graphs and charts, reports, etc. So business functions. Administration supports the whole of the business. It's worthwhile to have a brief understanding of the other functions that a business may have. So first of all, human resources. The business function that is responsible for all aspects of recruiting and retaining those employees, that's down to human resources. The marketing and sales department, this is the business's function that is responsible for telling customers about the business and about its products that they're selling. The finance department. This is the business function that is responsible for dealing with the money in the business. Customer services. You've all heard of customer services. This is the business function that is responsible for making sure that the customers are happy. Research and development. This is the business function that is responsible for developing new products and researching whether they're needed in the first place. Operations. This is the business function that is responsible for making those products that the business will sell. And it says here, just a hint, the business in your case study could be based on any of these functions. So you may be asked about the human resources part, you might be asked about the marketing and the sales, you might be asked about the finance, the customer service, the research and the development, or the operations part of that business. Roles in the business. So we've looked at roles in the business in the past, and normally we've concentrated on 2 main areas. The first being managers, and we know that managers, they make the big decisions in a business, and they carry out things called non-routine tasks. Routine means you do them all the time, like your daily routine. You get up at a certain time, you go in the shower at a certain time, you brush your teeth, etc, etc. That's routine tasks. Managers do things that are not every day, so they're non-routine tasks. We'll have a look at those in a minute. Those people who do routine tasks are called administrators, and they support the managers, and as it says on the screen there, they carry out those routine tasks. That might be opening the post, putting the rubbish in the bin, filing the important papers that they've opened, making phone calls, adding data into a database, all those different things, they are the routine tasks. It can be useful to have an idea of the hierarchy of the business so that you can work out who carries out the routine and the non-routine tasks. We've looked at hierarchies before. This means who is at the top of the business, who's next in line, who's at the bottom of the business, and usually those at the top of the business, they carry out the non-routine, the special tasks like the hiring and the firing, and the administrators, they're further down the hierarchy, they carry out the routine tasks. Like I say, opening the post and putting the junk mail in the bin, filing the important things, passing on important messages to the managers, making the phone calls, etc. They are the routine tasks. So we've got some elements of routine and non-routine tasks here on the screen at the moment. So some tasks are carried out every day, and it says that these are called the routine tasks, as I've already explained. Other tasks don't happen very often, and these are called the non-routine tasks. So down the left-hand side of the screen, these are the routine tasks: storing documents, entering details into a database, data input, so that's taking some information and typing it into the computer, maybe into a database about customers. Restocking shelves, that happens every day in a shop. Sending out invoices, so those bills to other businesses or those customers that owe you money, that would be a routine task. You would do those often, perhaps every day. Non-routine tasks are the things on the right hand side. These are the things that managers would do. So deciding on what new products are going to be brought out. Maybe designing an advertising campaign. That won't happen every day, that might happen every 6 months. Recruiting new employees, that's a non-routine task. That's something that doesn't happen every day. Certainly if your business is recruiting new employees every day, then there's a problem with your business. So that's a non-routine task. And finally, preparing information for a review. That would be done by a manager who wants to review how a certain department is working or how the business is running. So that's a non-routine task, something that will be carried out by a manager. So again, left-hand side of the screen, routine tasks carried out by administrators. Right-hand side of the screen, non-routine tasks carried out by managers. So planning and prioritising. It says businesses will plan for all sorts of things. If they plan successfully, they are more likely to be a successful business. So we've got 4 different things there in our planning and our prioritising. First of all, identifying all the tasks that are required. Second of all, working out how long each task would take. Third of all, deciding the order in which tasks should be done. And lastly, deciding who will carry out each task. And these are important parts of planning to make sure that whether it's creating a new product or whether it's carrying out a review, all of these things work smoothly. So prioritising means deciding which tasks are more important to the success of the plan and working out an order to do them. So, open plan offices. We're going to look at 2 different types of office here, open plan and cellular. We've carried out quite a lot of work on these in the past. Fairly straightforward, but a little bit of a recap. An open plan office is one room where everyone works in one shared space. Desks might be arranged so that people who work in the same team or the same department sit together. And there's various different reasons why a business might go down the route of open plan offices. And it says in the bottom corner, there's just a big hint here, this also has links to communication, so we'll look at that in a later video, and also a part called hot desking. So cellular offices. A cellular office is where each office is separated from each other. They will be partitioned by walls and doors, and this is the more traditional way of working. The workplace would have lots of small offices where often one person works alone. Again, as a bit of a hint, this has a link to a later video where we look at communication. The differences between open plan offices and cellular offices are the perfect opportunity for an exam board to ask you one of those 9-mark questions and to give the positives and the negatives, the advantages and the disadvantages of open plan offices in comparison to cellular offices. So on the screen at the moment is the advantages and disadvantages of an open plan office before we consider the advantages and disadvantages of cellular offices in a second. So first of all, advantages of open plan offices. Well, first of all, people feel less isolated. Because they're in an open plan office, they feel as if they're more aware of what is happening around them and in the rest of the workplace. They can talk to people, they can ask what's going on, they can be kept up to date easier. The next advantage is it's easier to supervise people. So if I'm a manager and I'm working in an open plan office and you are my employee, I can walk around you just like I walk around my classroom, and I can supervise you more successfully than if you were all in individual offices. Employees, that's the workers, they can work together as a team, so teamwork can take place more successfully when you're working in an open plan office. Communication is easier because it's easier to talk to people. You don't have to get on the phone or email them. You don't have to leave your office to go into the next office. Because you're all working together, communication is easier. And equipment can be shared. So everybody shares maybe a printer or 2 printers throughout the whole of this open plan office. That means that money is saved by the business. So that's an advantage. It might be that if 30 people work in your business, maybe there's 20 computers, so some are shared. That saves money for the business as well. Disadvantages of open plan offices, well, there's a lack of privacy, which means that having private meetings can be difficult. If you're late for work every day and I have to have a private meeting with you about that, then you're not going to be happy if I have to do that in front of the rest of your work colleagues. So it can be difficult in an open plan office to have a private meeting. It can be noisy and distract employees from their work. I often think that sometimes a call centre could be a very noisy place to work because that's usually an open plan office. So it can be noisy and distract employees from their work. Some employees might feel that they are being watched by their manager. So that can have a negative effect on the way that people work. And you might lose or misplace documents quite easily if you work in an office where lots of people might walk around and pick things up by mistake or knock things off a desk by mistake, and that can be a disadvantage of working in an open plan office. Now all of these are in comparison to working in a cellular office. So the advantages and disadvantages of working in a cellular office are often the flip side of working in an open plan office. So the advantages of working in an open plan office might be the disadvantages of working in a cellular office. So we'll consider those now. The advantages of working in a cellular office are the work environment is quiet and private. If you're in your own room, then it's quiet, it's private, you can have a private meeting, which is the next bullet point, much easier than in an open plan office. More senior managers may feel that having a private office is more appropriate to them. Security is better as files are less likely to be moved by other employees, either by mistake or on purpose. You can also lock your own office door and keep your items safe that way. Disadvantages are that some people may feel isolated and not in touch with what is going on with the rest of the workplace. Another disadvantage is that it's harder to supervise people. If I was your boss and I had to come into 30 different offices to try and supervise you, that would be a lot more difficult for me. Communication and teamwork is much harder if you have your own cellular office. And it can be much more expensive as more equipment is needed. If there's 30 cellular offices, that means I need 30 computers, 30 printers, 30 filing cabinets, even down to things like 30 desks, 30 waste paper bins,